Blake watched as two of her travel companions exited the complex with drinks in their hands. Shaylin and Tabitha. They both were beautiful and not at all plain like Blake. Shaylin had fiery red hair that fell to the middle of her back in perfect curls and big blue eyes. Tabitha had platinum blonde hair and brown eyes. Both were curvy like Blake, but they had confidence about their weight Blake longed for. "Where's Kendall and Janelle?" Blake asked as the pair sat in loungers beside her and Adrian. "Kendall is putting Nate down for a nap, and Janelle isn't feeling well," Shaylin answered before taking a sip of her drink. Blake could relate to not feeling well. She'd been a little off since arriving a few weeks ago. She wasn't sick, just tired and restless. But she ignored it, figuring it was her body adjusting to everything on the new planet. A smile lifted Blake's lips as she thought about Nate, Kendall's 3-year-old son. He was adorable and very active. It made Blake's mama clock tick louder. She loved kids and wanted a bunch of them. It was the reason she signed up to become a surrogate. She wanted babies, and if she could help a planet rebuild in the process, bonus. It was her way of paying it forward, Blake being the product of a surrogate mom herself. Shaylin sat up and motioned to the group of men working on the community center. "I'm loving the view." Blake giggled and glanced at the shirtless men. "It is a beautiful view." "I'll have to agree." The sound of the low, husky voice made Blake lift her gaze to stare into the most beautiful golden eyes she'd ever seen. Okay, so it wasn't often she saw gold eyes. Not light brown with a gold hue. These babies were gold. The man had white blonde hair and was built like a house. Thick arms, broad shoulders. Blake wanted to climb him. She was so mesmerized by the shifter, she didn't notice the other two who jumped over the low cast-iron fencing that surrounded the pool area. They took a seat close to Adrian and Shaylin. One had short dark brown hair, and the other had purple hair. All three had ridges on their noses and high cheekbones. The man with the blonde hair and gold eyes then hopped over and sat at the table with Blake. She felt her cheeks heat, and she averted her gaze. He reached over the table and touched the back of her hand. She swore a jolt of electricity tingled her fingers, traveled up her arm, and spread throughout her body. Holy hell! What was that? "I'm Serge." His voice was husky and silky at the same time. It had a slight accent that reminded her of French and German rolled into one. "Hi, my name is Blake." Blake. He spoke her name, and she almost melted in her chair. Taking a deep breath, she tried to focus on not jumping in his lap. "What type of shifter are you?" For a moment, she thought her question was offensive, but he smiled, revealing one dimple. "We are wolves." He pointed to his friends, then introduced them. "The one with the purple hair is Quill, and the other is Barrett." Barrett seemed to take an interest in Adrian, while Quill talked with Shaylin. Blake nodded at them and said, "Hi, nice to meet you." They replied politely, but she could tell they were more interested in her friends. Blake glanced at Tabitha, who winked at her playfully before going for a swim. Blake giggled. Tabitha seemed to have a dark side, but she had a soft spot for nature and animals. A couple more shadows fell over them, and she glanced up to see the men working on the community center standing at the fence. Serge straightened, and his features darkened. "What?" One of the men said, "We are finished and taking a break." Serge pointed to the community center. "Go take a break over there and wait for Mace. He'll be here in a few minutes." The men remained for a few moments, then Serge growled and arched a brow. The men scattered. Blake laughed, mostly out of nerves. "Wow, do they always do what you say?" Serge said, "Yes, I'm their beta. I only answer to the alpha, Jericho. You'll meet him tonight at the party." "Will you be at the party?"